Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Power of Decision podcast. I'm your host, Tara Patton-Weisner, and I have two very special guests today I am thrilled to introduce you to. Today, we're going to talk about a number of things from decisions that change our life to relationships that change our life to what the future looks like for you after you hear this episode. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Shannon Farley of Souls by Grace and Ben Okumu from Bata Shoe Company. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I'm especially excited to have you both here today because the last time the three of us were together was in March of 2024. And that was the first day you met.
Was.
Yes. And now they're engaged.
The first day we met, I think I said 10 words to you.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Which were?
Which were, okay. It was very not. We had another spokesperson in the room for us that if you remember, Farah was the one who did majority of the talking that day.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm sure our listeners are wondering how we came from Kenya to here now. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about your story. We're going to talk about the background of Souls by Grace and, of course, your background and all the decisions that we've made that bring us to this point here today and what we can do with the inspiration that so many people are going to get after they hear these stories today next. So Shannon and I went on a mission trip to Kenya and with her organization, Souls by Grace. And I will let you, Shannon, tell us the story of how you started Souls by Grace and how people can learn more about it.
Sure. And thank you so much, Tara, for having us here today. This is kind of special to be able to do this in person with Ben and tell our story because it definitely has been a God story. I first went on my first mission trip with my daughter who felt like she was being called to mission. And I just went as a chaperone. And so even to the point where they asked me to pray over a meal while we were there. And I said, nope, I'm just here for my daughter to experience this. But when we came back from that, during that time, I really had an intense emotional point with the Lord. And at that point, I gave it all up to him. And that is, at that point, when you do that, I think he just puts you in the fast lane. And fast forward, I met you through that same organization, Honest Fe in Panama. And then the next year, we went on a mission trip to Kenya. And I think my background being in a corporate world, being a strategic planner, when we went to Kenya, I saw a need and I saw all the pieces were there. And we just started thinking, how can we maybe make something happen there? And out of that came Souls by Grace. And we were just trying to be faithful into the Lord and trying to make a difference. And that led me to Ben and asking him about a partnership with Souls by Grace and Bata, which then led to us dating. And now we are engaged.
Yep.
I love it. It's so exciting how all the decisions that you've made and that you've made have brought us to this point now today. And I'm just so excited. And for the listeners that want to learn more about Souls by Grace, I encourage you to visit soulsbygrace.com. And that's SOLES bygrace.com. And what Shannon and the organization does, and of course, Ben as well, is provide shoes and socks for children and that walk a very long way without proper footwear and a lot of other things. She does a number of other things, but the beginning of Souls by Grace was shoes and socks. And I got to join Shannon on a mission trip. Like she mentioned, the two mission trips that I went on, the only two I've ever been on actually, are what led me to you and to Souls by Grace. And I am a monthly donor because just $10 can give a pair of shoes and socks to a child. And I am going to pledge, right now I give 2 pairs of shoes, which is $20, but I'm going to pledge 10 pairs of shoes from now until eternity every month to the children of Kenya. And now they get to have beautiful shoes thanks to Ben Akumu. And for the Americans that aren't familiar with what Bata Shoe Company is, it is the number one shoe company in the world, right?
Yep.
It's everywhere. Tell us all about how you became the Bata guy.
Okay. My name is Ben Akumu. I first started my career in Nestle. I'm an accountant by profession. And from Nestle, I was exposed to different countries, from Nestle Kenya to Nestle Switzerland. Then I was posted to South Africa. Then Bata had hunted me when I was still the regional financial head for Nestle. Then they took me to Bata, Kenya, where I was a finance director. I was heading Eastern Central Africa as a finance director. Then after that, I got a promotion and I was taken to Bata, South Africa. From Bata, South Africa, I was looking predominantly at the Southern Africa and into Africa. From there, I got promoted again and became the CEO of Bata Zambia. I became the CEO of Bata South Africa. And eventually, in the year 2023, December 2022, I was promoted back to become CEO of Bata Kenya.
Bata Kenya. Wow. What a journey.
So that has been an interesting journey. But I just want to say that one of the decisions that I made in my life at a very early stage, which I think propelled me to become a CEO today, is when my parents wanted me to become an engineer, because I come from a family where my other two brothers were one an aeronautical engineer and one electrical engineer. But I had to make a very conscious decision to change from engineering to finance. And I believe doing what I have a God-given talent and what I have a passion for has made me deliver so much in terms of the line of profession that I really wanted myself.
Thank you. Yeah. So that's the question we always ask everyone. What decision changed their life? So tell me, Ben, what was that you did when you first realized this is my gift? This is my talent. This is what I want to do. I want to go into finance. What did you do next?
Actually, I'll have to admit that at that particular point in time, I was quite not very clear with the career path that I wanted to take. But I just didn't enjoy the engineering school when I went into it. So I figured out that I was enjoying much more when it came to the business studies. Perhaps it was as a result of the background that I had already had when I was growing up. I come from a family where both my father and my mother were restaurateurs running a business together. And I was introduced to the business at a very, very early age, right from the age of 12. Whenever we had, during the school holidays, my mother would ensure that I went to assist in the business. And during that part, I was playing quite a number of roles in the business, from the service operations into becoming a cashier. So I started enjoying business at an early age. And I probably think that played a very significant role in me seeing much more into the accounting side other than the engineering side, when I was where I was dealing more with machines other than the business and people.
Wow. So the experience of doing it and kind of leading to the next thing,
Yep.
When you realize this is what I like, this is what I don't like.
Yeah.
I love that. So you had just listed to a number of decisions that you made with Bata to go all over the world, and so going from 12 years old at the restaurant to CEO,
Yep.
That's going to these places, obviously because you have a precise skill that they all need, so that, oh, we're in trouble, call Ben kind of thing, or no, or just taking it to the next level, so to speak, with you coming in. So between those two timeframes, what decisions did you make then with your education and things like that? How did you start to keep down this road of, I like to inform people about what decisions that they can make really when they start to realize they're maybe going down the wrong road, how they can go down the right road.
Yeah.
Do you ask for help? Do you get a mentor? What do you do?
Like I said before, Nestle started training me from a very early age. And at that particular point in time, they put us into what they were referring to as a talent pool. So once they identified that you had a particular skill set, they took you through a very rigorous training. And that's why I started by explaining that I was given quite some proper exposure into Switzerland, into South Africa, and in many other countries before. That is Nestle before I joined Bata. And at that particular point in time, then I was attached to a mentor. I still remember his name. He was a Swiss guy. So I went through, like I said again, through that particular meticulous training that the Swiss are known for. And I think that played a very important role for me, because once I identified that that they had put me through the talent pool, the biggest decision that I made that made me focus and attain what I've attained today is that during that particular point in time, I was a young accountant. I had the skill set. I had the qualification. The computers were just coming into the world, and I had been trained into the computers. So there were so many organizations in Kenya that were looking for people like myself, offering us big pay packets, offering us big perks and privileges. But I stuck to Nestle because I saw that this is a company that I identified with me. They had picked up my skill. They were unlocking my potential. They were training me. So I preferred to pick up training at an early age other than go for money and for money at an early stage. And the training helped me up. And now I grew to the point that I am today.
It's beautiful. So you got to learn your craft and get trained.
So training, I think the timing of the steps that we take in our careers are very, very important. If you rush into going into the parks, you probably end up being there when you are not ready to move to the next step, as opposed to now sticking up to your lane and going into the steps into a more mature and synchronized manner. It is comparing it to, I compare this to climbing to the top through a ladder or steps or staircase, other than taking an escalator.
Yes, one step at a time.
One step at a time.
I like that. Yeah. Thank you. Wow. I remember, and back to the day we met again in the Bata office, a friend of mine that I had met 20 years prior introduced us to you, got us a meeting, and we were sitting there. And then, Shannon, let's hear from you about what the next steps were, because obviously the focus of that day was, we got to get these really nice shoes, And then when you and Ben started dating, let's hear about, how you guys kind of first, we obviously know the day you met, but how did you guys take that to the next level? Like you said, because God was involved in it.
Yep.
Yeah, he was, because if at that point that I was in Panama, I feel like if I never gave it up to God, he would have never put me in touch with you, which would have never put me in touch with Farah, which would have never put us in touch with him. So I do believe it was all orchestrated, but you have to give it up. And that was the decision I think I made at that point that changed the rest of my life. And you have to give it up, and you have to continue to give it up. You can't take it back. But then just sit back and watch what he does in your life. So the day that Farah and you and I went in to meet Ben, I don't know if we were asking for shoes,
yep.
And he told me that you had already spent all your CSR funds. But my background being in corporate, I know that next year you will have more CSR funds. So what I did throughout the year is just whenever we did shoe dispersals, I would send him pictures of it. And I'm like, hey, we're still out here. Don't forget about Little Souls by Grace. We're still out here doing this. And he would always come back with the nicest things. Oh, I love how you're doing, what you're doing. This is so great. Thank you for the pictures, blah, blah, blah. So that went on for 6 months, because it was March that we met of 2024. And then November, We were about to go into safari because we do a safari on our mission trip as well. And I was thinking, let me go ahead and get these pictures to Ben so, I can have a beer and relax. And my work is done. And so I sent it to him, and he comes back and he says, well, I thank you so much for this. This is great. I love what you're doing. I'd love to take you to dinner. And I sat there for a moment and I'm like, is this a business dinner? Is this a cultural thing before, you get into business? You want to have a cultural dinner, or is this a date? And so I think we continued to talk, but when we got back to Nairobi, we were flying out. And so we realized we just didn't have time on that trip. And he asked when I'd be back. And I said February. And he's like, well, I'd like to just continue to talk to you and get to know you. And I said, sure, that's no problem. So I didn't say anything to anybody on the van. And I was just, kind of processing it in my head because I felt it was a little out of left field. And the next morning, our driver, Martin, which was also there when we all met.
Yep, Martin was there. We love Martin.
And if you want a really good safari, contact Martin.
Yes.
And we were at breakfast, and Martin just comes out of the blue and says, you know what? I'm going to just find you a Kenyan man. And I said, well, funny you should say that because, and I told him that Ben had reached out and asked me to dinner the afternoon before. And Martin's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's when you should go for. And I'm like, okay, well. Yeah. So, but Martin did have his list of questions that he wanted you to answer and go through. Yeah. So he did do his due diligence. But so the next 4 months, I guess, we just talked. You had some travel. You went to China and you went to South Africa, I think. Zambia. And so he had some travel going on. I had some family health issues going on with my mom and my dad. And so it was nice to have somebody to talk to about that. Yep. And then when I went back in February, we went on our first date. And he wanted to take me out. And I'm like, well, I don't really know you and I don't really know Nairobi. So you can come to my hotel and we'll have dinner here. So, and we did that and we just kicked it off.
Yeah.
He talked about how he grew up in a family business. I too grew up in a family business. So talking about business is just second nature to us because we saw both of our parents doing it. And now we schedule calls when he's in Kenya and I'm here. We schedule calls for like an hour and a half. Yep. And for the first hour, we're just talking about business. Like, okay, we need to do that. We need to do that. How do you want to handle this? How do you think this should be handled? And it's just so second nature to be building something with someone who has such great insights. He knows how to handle situations. He knows I can always come to him and say, okay, this is what we're having. And he has a solution. And it is so nice to have a partner like that understands and just gets it, takes care of it. For so long, I felt like in all my other relationships, I always wanted to find that partner to build something with. And I always felt like I was the one who always had to come up with a solution. And Ben is just a godsend for that, where I can just give it to him and, it's taken care of and it's figured out and he's handled it professionally and the best that it could be. So I'm so thankful. He also, like he says, an accountant. I am not. I am not detail oriented at all. And he takes care of those things. And his strengths are my weaknesses. And I think maybe some of my strengths are your weaknesses. Yep. So we balance each other. And it's when you find that, it's just really, really amazing.
It's godsend.
Absolutely.
I love the synchronicities too, because your birthdays are transposed too, right?
Yeah. So mine's October 12th and his is December 10th.
Yes.
Yep. And even in Europe, they do the day. So it's always 10/12. My birthday, if you write my birthday or if you write his birthday, it's 10/12.
Yeah, they do the day first and then the month in Europe. Yeah. I'm originally from London. And I lived back there from 2015 to 2019. And I remember saying, that makes so much more sense, saying the day and then the month and then the year.
Yeah.
You know, why would you have the month first?
You know, as Americans always like to do something a little different.
Just Americanize it. I was born in London and came to America when I was 3. My dad's English. Yeah. And so I always felt very English until I went back to England. And I love that you guys travel and have this international experience together. But there is something really to be said, especially for a lot of Americans that don't travel so much, about how important it is to be culturally informed as well. Sure. And so, but I love that you guys have all these synchronicities, but all these differences, like you just mentioned. And, you know, I'd love to dive a little bit deeper into the journey of, you know, how you realized, did it just happen like that? Is it just one of those things where you're like, okay, that dinner at the hotel, like this is someone I want to really get to know and have in my life? Does it just happen? Because that was my experience. You know, if I always say, if it's God, you can't fight it. And if it's not, you can't force it. You know, so what was that? What did that journey look like? And you also mentioned, not to ask you 5 questions at once, but I'm going to, but you also mentioned, you know, the distance. Yep. So how do you navigate those kinds of things in a relationship like that?
I think we have had, she has explained very clearly how we met. And you've talked about the distance, but before I say that, I want to put it into a different perspective, that in terms of the challenge.
Yes.
The two most challenges, the two most aspect of challenge of challenge in our relationship has been the distance, and a small one in terms of the culture. When we were starting, the distance, yes, because Kenya is very far from America.
Yes,
and we are very
no, it's just right around the corner.
It takes a whole day to get there,
and we are all busy people. But I came to understand that you can be so close to somebody, yet very far. And you can be very far from somebody, yet very close.
Wow.
So we took some very conscious decisions that actually narrowed the distance, and we are just now around the corner from America to Kenya. What were these decisions? The first thing is that we intentionally and deliberately ensure that we're in constant communication. Mm-hmm. And a day will not pass before communicating, before having regular communications. Then at the very beginning, maybe I should have started by saying this, that at the very beginning, how we bridged up the distance is that we went into Pastor Joby's series.
Pastor Joby, the Songs of Solomon.
And then when we went to the Song of Solomon, and for every Wednesday, evening on my side, morning on her side, we went through the series. We did man, we did woman, then we did dating, then it was sex, then it was vows, then it was honeymoon. Then the interesting part was how to fight. Oh. So that actually brought us very close, and that was the first point that we started narrowing the distance. Once we cleared with the series is that we realized that we were becoming very close, and going without meeting for 6 weeks was becoming difficult. So she made a very conscious decision that we should not stay away from each other for more than 4 weeks. And we have done exactly that. Yeah. Then the other point is that to make or narrow this challenge, just make each other a priority. Whenever I tell her we need to talk, she will ensure we talk. Whenever she tells me we need to talk, I'll ensure we talk. So those have narrowed out the challenges that we have in terms of the communication of the distance. No, in terms of the distance through communication. Yeah. But making each other priorities has been a very big element in our relationship.
I love that. That's beautiful. Yeah. That gave me goosebumps. I love the reminder, and I'm just going to say it again. You can be very close to someone and still be far apart, and you can be very far apart and still be very close to someone. I think that is so beautiful and so very true. I love that. And, you know, you touched on some things, Ben, that I now want to, we have the history. We know about Souls by Grace. We know about your beautiful journey and how you've come together. Let's talk about what's happening next. So obviously you're engaged, you're getting married. We're very excited about this. And then you guys, what is your individual mission and then the mission you have together look like that you're going? I know you mentioned building something. I don't know if you want to share that today, but.
Yeah. So each time I feel like I go to Kenya, God kind of ingrains me more and more into Kenya. And this is just part of it, meeting a Kenyan man and building a mission house. So we are in the process of meeting with builders. We already have a design, but we would love to bring people over and have a place for them. It is in his ancestral land or village called Game. And it's just a very simple design. But again, it's right in the village. There's a school right around the corner. We like to do a preschool. Again, we want to make a difference. You can't make a difference all over Kenya, but you can make a difference in your little part of the world. And so that's really what we're kind of focusing on, is just what can we do? What can we bring? How can we modify? How can we change that little area? And a mission house is step one.
So people would be able to go on mission and stay on this land.
Mm.
That's incredible.
Yep.
And then help, when you say do a preschool, you mean help support them with supplies. I know when we
build one.
Build one.
Build
and run
one.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Not just visit one.
Nope.
You're going to build a school.
Build a preschool. Yep.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. How exciting. And then you won't have to be apart anymore. You can just be in Kenya.
Well, yeah, back and forth. We haven't figured all that out yet.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to, right? Because as you both have explained, it's just taking that next step of obedience.
Just taking that step of obedience. And I can't stress that enough, that the decision, just to take a step, God will direct your steps. We have no idea how the mission house is going to happen. We have no idea how the preschool is going to happen. But we know God has put this on our heart, and he hasn't put it on our heart if he doesn't already have a way and a plan forward. This last time we were there, we gave out 300 pairs of shoes. If you would have told me 2 years ago that at your 2-year anniversary, you would hit the 4,000 pair shoes and socks mark, there's no way. But it happens. And each month, just by being obedient and doing 150, you turn around and look at this. A very wise woman on the last mission trip said, you don't have to know how to feed the 5,000. You just have to bring fish and bread.
Sure.
God will figure it out.
Yes. Give him what you have and he'll multiply it. And it is our duty to go forth amongst the nations, right? So I am so impressed, and it's overwhelming. I just got kind of emotional thinking about it, because it's so beautiful what God does when we give him everything that we have, and allow that multiplication that only God can do to happen. And that's such a good example of the feeding the 5,000, is just giving your loaf and your fish, and then having God multiply it. I can't thank you both enough for your heart. And for your obedience, for your love. I can't wait to see what continues to bloom and build from it. And also for anyone watching that wants to be a part of this journey, because I know I do, and I'm excited about it. Please visit soulsbygrace.com. I will put that in the show notes, and learn more about Shannon and Ben's journey and what they've been doing, what they're going to do, and what God is going to continue to move in their lives and the lives of so many people. I know the 1 week that we spent there, we got to touch thousands of children, literally hug them and pray with them and learn from them, and be impacted in a way that I never realized. I thought I was going on a mission trip to be, of service, and really I was transformed with gratitude and with obedience as, okay, I'm going to show up and serve and learn. And some of my very favorite photos are from that trip. I have them in my home, and so much joy and the smiles and the peace and the kindness. And I'll never forget, this was one of my favorite things. when Shannon and I first landed in Kenya, we had like 12 suitcases and it was just the two of us. And it was the middle of the night and, because we bring all these supplies and it was a little scary at first because everyone was, at this airport in the night. And, but then we get to the hotel and we get in Martin's van the next day and we're driving, 5 hours, everything's 5 hours in Kenya. And we're driving and she is waving to absolutely everyone like, hello, hello. She's waving. And I just thought, and I said, wow, she's such a nice person. She's so nice. And then I realized it's this infectious joy that the people of Kenya have that you just can't explain. You have to experience. So whether you want to pray, pay, or play, be a part of it, go on mission with Shannon and see Kenya and see the mission house and what they're building. Please support this mission at soulsbygrace.com. And I so appreciate both of you coming and sharing your journeys individually and together. And what is something you'd like to leave with the listeners today?
It takes a very big heart to do what Souls by Grace is doing. Souls by Grace has grown from what you just described when it started 1 year ago. It has now helped over 4,000 children get into shoes. And I also want to explain to the listeners that the pillars of Souls by Grace are not entirely only shoes. We have the provision of shoes. Then we have what we also describe as the giving of goats and chicken to the widows. Then we have a support in terms of also supporting an orphanage in a place called Webuye. But the most important thing that I enjoy when I'm joining Shannon in the mission is that with all these pillars, I was just forgetting another pillar. We have gone into a joint venture with a recycling company.
Oh, yes.
So there are children who, when they bring the cans, plastic cans, we take it, send it to the recycling company. Then whatever they pay us, we add the same amount and we give it back to the school in terms of books and pencils and writing material. So we have those 4 pillars in Souls by Grace. But the most important thing is that at the center of all this, when we are doing all these activities, it is when we go and spread the gospel to the children.
Amen.
And what we leave behind with the children every time on a mission is that education is an equalizer. Through education and through religion, then you have no limit.
Amen.
So through Souls by Grace, we will have these pillars going around, but we would like to emphasize, I would always stress that without religion, God's will, and God's blessing, you cannot achieve anything.
Amen. Thank you. Very powerful reminder. Yes, the goats and the chickens provide food. The scholarships for the young ladies and gentlemen at Tony's Home for Hope.
Sure.
And the gospel, of course, is the root and foundation of all of it. Thank you for that reminder. I love what's grown and progressed. And I was just reminded when he shared about Mr. Green Africa, we also had that meeting on our trip. That was your first meeting with them. Yeah. And they had these little tubes of materials that they turned things in. And we went to this other place I wanted to see. We had to pay a fortune to go see this plant where they took old cars and things like that and made squares, plastic squares for streets and bricks. And to see how that's transformed.
And you were actually the one who brought that to my attention, that was being done. And that's what caused us to look into that and ultimately the partnership with Mr. Green Africa. Yeah. So, but I also think, again, just always leaning in. You never know what's on the other side of obedience, taking that step. And, again, we're not supposed to, we most likely won't see the fruits of our labor. We're just out there sowing seeds, and then God can water whatever he deems is supposed to. But I will tell you, and Tara, you remember this, meeting Nancy and telling her story. And Nancy grew up and she was in the gift shop of the place that we were staying on Safari. And she was asking Tara and I why we were there. And Tara was sharing what we were doing and everything. And Nancy started crying. And she said, I was one of those children that grew up without shoes. And then she reached in her pocketbook and pulled out 1,000 shillings, which is a lot of money for them, and paid it forward for another child to have shoes. So I just think that's amazing. Again, you never know what seeds are being planted and where they will grow and flourish. Only God does, but you need to be obedient in doing that.
Put your yes on the table.
Absolutely.
I love that. Thank you so much for the reminder. That was such a beautiful moment with Nancy and so many of them. Even meeting Ben was really cool. I'd never been in this sort of level of a meeting before, and I thought, wow, what could happen from this? And I had no idea that this could happen from this.
Exactly.
And it's pretty much the very best thing that could have happened from this. And in addition to obviously just continuing to follow the desires that only God places in our hearts. And I brought my Bible today because there was so many pieces of scripture I wanted to read. We had so many questions about, going through sort of our history and things like that. And I'm so grateful that we just had this perfect conversation about your backgrounds, about how you've come together, about what you're doing moving forward, and all of the people that, and I know you say you won't see the fruits of your labor, but I remember the week I spent with you in Kenya, I saw a lot of fruits of labor, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to continue to walk this road with you, to be a part of it. I think one of the things that, the reason we started this podcast was I wanted people to make better decisions. I wanted people to see the impact of a series of decisions. In the 4 years we've been doing this podcast, I asked people that question that I've asked you both, what one decision changed your life? And it always is some form of, well, I made a lot of decisions, but the one, right, that fork in the road, the one where I decided to go this way instead of this way, that's where it all changed. And the reason I have such a heart for this and have a passion for this is because I too had a situation where I hit that fork in the road and I went the right way instead of the wrong way in my personal belief, and then continued to make a series of decisions that have brought us all here today as well. So I'm just going to encourage everyone that's listening to make good decisions, to get a thorough training, to be patient and kind, and to just continue to put your yes on the table and to show up for the things God calls us to do, even scared. And I'm so grateful to both of you. Thank you so much again for being here today. And visit soulsbygrace.com to learn more about Ben and Shannon's mission. And we will see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.